Hey, so tonight we're diving into the real lives of medieval peasant women, and trust me, by the end of this, you're going to feel extra thankful for that cozy mattress you're lying on right now. If you're enjoying these kinds of stories, I genuinely appreciate a like or subscribe. It means a lot. And hey, I'm always curious, where are you listening from? Drop a comment with your location and the time right now. It's kind of magical how people all over the world are falling asleep to this. Now go ahead, find that perfect cozy spot, take a slow, deep breath, and just let yourself sink fully into whatever you're resting on. We're heading back in time to medieval England, and I promise, by the time we're done, you'll be grateful all over again for things like indoor plumbing. Congratulations, you've just woken up in a medieval peasant cottage somewhere in England, around the year 1300. The very first thing that hits you is the smell. Not awful, not rotten, but unmistakably different. The sharp scent of wood smoke lingers in the air from the low fire smoldering in the center of the room. There's no chimney here, just a rough opening in the thatched roof. Sometimes it vents the smoke, sometimes it doesn't. Your lungs are used to it by now. Your back has that familiar dull ache from sleeping on a straw mattress that's laid straight on the packed dirt floor. There are no bed frames, no pillows, just a lumpy bundle of straw stuffed inside coarse linen. And you don't sleep alone. You share this bedding with your sister and your two younger brothers. As you stir, the scratchy wool blanket rubs against your skin. It isn't soft, but it kept you warm enough through the lingering spring chill. It's barely dawn, just the faintest light peeking through the single window, which has no glass, only a wooden shutter that never quite shuts properly. You can already hear your mother moving about, quietly tending the fire. There's the soft clink of her spoon as she stirs something in the cooking pot. The cottage is small, really just one main room for the whole family. The walls are made of wattle and daub, a framework of sticks woven together, smeared over with layers of mud, clay, straw, and yes, sometimes animal dung. It keeps most of the weather out, at least when it's not raining sideways. Somewhere behind you, your father coughs in his sleep. In one corner, the hens are starting to cluck. They know it's nearly time to be let out. From the shed attached to the house, the family cow shifts in her stall, ready for the first milking of the day. Agnes, your mother calls gently. That's you. You're Agnes, a 14-year-old girl, the eldest daughter in a peasant family. Come help with the fire. You slip out from under the rough blanket, your bare feet landing on the cool earth floor. No polished wooden boards here, just solid ground, maybe with a few woven rush mats laid down if your family's had a decent year. You're wearing your simple linen chemise, a long, shapeless undershirt that doubles as your nightgown. It falls to your ankles and you've had it on for days now. Laundry is a big task and only happens when absolutely necessary. You own 2 sets of clothing this one, and you're set for work. You'll wash them next week, maybe, when you head to the stream with the other village women. The slightly sour smell of your own body doesn't even register. Everyone smells. It's just part of life. Coming, mother, you mumble, still rubbing sleep from your eyes. The good news? You have a roof over your head. The bad news? That roof is thatched straw, which means it's also home to mice, insects, and the occasional bird. You've gotten used to the scratching and rustling above you at night. You kneel beside your mother, helping her coax the fire back to life. You add small twigs to the bed of coals she carefully preserved overnight. Fire is precious. If it dies out completely, someone will have to go borrow embers from a neighbor, and that's more than just inconvenient. It's embarrassing. As the fire catches, smoke starts to thicken inside the room again, making your eyes water slightly. But this is normal. This is home. We need water, your mother says, handing you a wooden bucket. And check the hen boxes for eggs. You nod and step outside. The morning air hits your face, fresh, cool, a breath of clean relief after the smoky cottage. Dew quickly soaks the bottom of your chemise as you walk. You should have put on your shoes, simple leather pieces with stiff wooden soles that your father stitched together last winter, but you were still half asleep when you stepped out, and habits are hard to change. The village is just beginning to stir. A few women are already gathered at the well, drawing water for their morning needs. This is where the day's news gets passed around. Who's getting married? Which family's cow is close to calving? Whose sons are quarreling over land boundaries? Morning, Agnes calls Maud, the miller's wife. She's always first at the well, and somehow always knows everything going on in the village. Your father heading to the north field today? She asks. Think so, you reply, lowering the wooden bucket into the deep, cool darkness of the well. The rope feels rough in your hands, but your palms are already toughened from years of labor. We're helping with the planting. Better you than me, girl, Maud chuckles, rolling her back a little. Mine couldn't take it anymore. She's only in her 30s, but years of hard labor have left her body bent and aching. That's what being a medieval peasant woman does to you. You work until you can't, and then you keep working anyway. The bucket hits the water with a distant splash. You wait a moment, then begin hauling it up, straining against the weight. Your arms already ache, and this is only the first of many trips you'll make today. Water for cooking, for drinking, for the animals, for the garden, it all begins with this bucket. Back home, your mother has the morning porridge simmering in the iron pot that hangs above the fire. It's plain, just oats boiled in water, maybe a pinch of salt if you're lucky. If you had any honey left from last year's combs, she might have used a drop, but not today. Honey is saved for when someone's sick or on special occasions. Your younger siblings are waking now, rubbing the sleep from their eyes. Little John, only 4, is already fussing about something. Your sister Matilda, who's 8, is helping to set the rough wooden bowls. Thomas, your 12-year-old brother, is pulling on his tunic, getting ready to join your father in the fields. Eggs, your mother asks as you set the heavy bucket down with a dull thud. Still need to check, you answer, and rush to the corner where 3 hens nest in boxes filled with straw. You find 2 eggs, still faintly warm from the hens' bodies. Not a lot, but it's something. Your mother nods. These won't go into the porridge, she says. We'll save them for bread later. Or maybe trade them for something we need. Breakfast is fast and quiet. The porridge fills your belly even if it doesn't taste like much. You eat with a wooden spoon from a wooden bowl, both carved by your father during long winter nights when field work was impossible. No fancy utensils, just the necessities shaped by hand. Afterward, you change into your work clothes, the same linen chemise from earlier, now covered by a woolen kirtle, a sleeveless overdress, laced up the sides to fit snug against your body. The wool itches against your skin. It's dyed a faded blue using woad, not the deep, vivid blue of noble garments that comes from faraway lands, but a duller shade that still says your family's not the very poorest. Your mother wove the cloth herself last winter, sitting by the hearth with her spindle and loom. You tie in your apron, already stained from days of work, and slip on your simple leather shoes. Your long brown hair, unwashed for weeks, is quickly braided and pinned beneath a linen head covering. Unmarried girls can show their hair, but it's more practical to keep it tucked away when there's labor to be done. We're heading to the north field today, your father says, finishing the last bite of his porridge. He's a strong man, hardened by years in the sun. His hands are permanently stained with dirt, his skin tough and cracked. The Lord wants the planting finished before week's end. The Lord, in this case, is Sir Geoffrey. He owns the land surrounding the village. Your family are free peasants, not serfs. That means you rent your cottage and your few strips of land rather than being tied to them. But still, his word is law. If Sir Geoffrey says the field must be sown by week's end, then you sow. Agnes, your father continues, you'll come with me, and Thomas. Matilda, help your mother with the garden and the washing. John stays home. That's how labor gets divided, not strictly by gender, but by strength and skill. You're old enough now, strong enough to handle field work. So that's where you're headed. Your mother wraps up bundles of food for the midday meal, simple cloth packages holding bread and cheese. No time to come back for lunch, she says, glancing at the gray sky visible through the open door. Looks like rain later. The north field lies about half an hour's walk from your cottage. You follow your father and brother along a rutted dirt path, joining other villagers making their way to the same place. Each family has its own allotted strips of land, but you work side by side, especially during planting and plowing, for efficiency and survival. The field opens before you, its furrows dark and freshly plowed, rich with the promise of life. This is your family's primary plot, where you'll grow barley, the grain that will feed you and brew your ale through the next year. Agnes, follow behind Thomas and drop the seed. Your father instructs, handing you a small cloth bag filled with precious barley. These seeds were chosen carefully, saved from the best part of last year's crop. What you hold in your hands is your family's future. Your brother walks ahead, using a stick to punch holes in the ground. You follow closely, dropping 2 or 3 seeds into each, then tamping the soil down gently with your foot. Your father works the furrow beside you. Other families work on either side. There's conversation and laughter, even as the labor wears on. As the sun climbs higher, your back begins to ache from constant bending. Your fingers darken with soil. Sweat trickles down your spine, even in the cool spring air. This is the daily reality of medieval peasant women, grueling vital, and completely unrelenting. By midday, your family has planted half your allotment. You take your short break beneath a sturdy oak tree at the field's edge, where the workers gather. You unwrap the bread and cheese your mother packed. The bread is dense and chewy, nothing like the soft loaves found in modern bakeries. The cheese is sharp and hard, made from your cow's milk. Good progress, your father says, chewing as he surveys the land. Weather holds. Will be done by tomorrow. You drink from a shared leather water flask. The water tastes faintly of the container, but still quenches your thirst. The break doesn't last long. Just enough to stretch your back and take in a few breaths before you're back in the field, bending, planting, pressing soil, over and over again. By late afternoon, the wind cools and dark clouds begin to gather, just as your mother had predicted. A chill rides the air. The field overseer, one of Sir Geoffrey's men, shouts over the furrows, "Rain's coming. Finish your rows. Cover the seed sacks." You hurry to complete your line, pressing each seed deep and firm. Rain would help the planted seeds, but it would ruin the ones still in the bag. They must stay dry. The first raindrops tap your cheeks just as you tie up your now lighter seed sack. Your father takes it from you and tucks it beneath his tunic for protection. The walk home will be wet, but the seeds, the ones not yet planted, will be safe. The rain thickens as your small family rushes down the path, soaked and tired, but carrying tomorrow's harvest safely within reach. The path back to the village is soaked within minutes. Rain pours steadily now, drenching your clothes until they cling to your skin, heavy and cold. Your head covering droops over your eyes, its weight pulling down as the water soaks through. Mud tugs greedily at your shoes, threatening to pull them right off your feet with every step. But no one complains. Not really. Rain means growth. Growth brings food. And food, well, food means survival. That's the cycle you live by. Back at the cottage, your mother already has a fire going despite the warmer spring air. The smoke is thicker than usual, made worse by the dampness, but the heat it gives is welcome. One glance at your sodden group, and she begins fussing, helping peel off the worst of your soaked garments, murmuring to herself all the while. "Told you it would rain," she says with quiet satisfaction, no scolding in her voice. Just the tired certainty of a woman who's learned to read the sky better than any calendar. The cottage is alive with evening rhythm. Matilda has been helping with the supper, a bubbling pot of dried peas and onions with just a little bit of salt pork thrown in for flavor. The rich, earthy smell fills the smoky air. Little John plays by the fire, pushing carved wooden animals across the dirt floor, content to stay dry. You help hang the wet garments near the fire to dry, though you know from experience they'll still be damp in the morning. Nothing ever truly dries in this smoky cottage. Your mother hands you a small bundle of wool and a spindle. Even after a full day in the fields, the work doesn't end. Thread must always be spun, always. That thread will become cloth on your mother's loom. The cloth will become clothing, or something to trade, or something to sell for necessities. Your fingers begin the familiar rhythm without thinking, drawing out the wool, setting the spindle to spin. You've done this since you were Matilda's age. After the strain of the day's labor, this motion is almost soothing. "Agnes will go with me to market tomorrow," your mother announces, her wooden spoon stirring the pottage as she speaks. "We need salt, and I've got eggs and spun wool to trade." The weekly market in the nearby town is more than just a place to barter. It's a lifeline. A place to get what the cottage can't produce, metal tools, maybe a pinch of spice if the trade goes well. And it's a chance to see people, to hear news from beyond the village. The thought stirs something in you. A thrill. Maybe the smith's son will be there again, the one who smiled at you last month. As night falls, the family gathers close around the fire to eat. The heat is thick and comforting, the food plain but filling. You soak up the pottage with dense slices of bread, eating every bit. Physical labor demands fuel, and food here is never wasted. After the meal, there's time for mending, patching torn seams by firelight, and more spinning. And stories, of course. Your father tells them from memory, since there are no books in the house. Most peasants can't read. You're lucky. The village priest taught you your letters after noticing your quick mind. But stories in your world are passed by mouth. Tales of saints and martyrs, lessons wrapped in drama, wisdom passed down in spoken words. Outside, the rain still drums steadily on the thatched roof. Every so often, A drop slips through and splashes onto the dirt floor with a quiet plop. Your father places a wooden bowl beneath the worst leak. He'll patch the roof when the weather clears. The fire dims to a warm bed of glowing embers. One by one, your family settles down in the same sleeping spots as always, curling under the same scratchy blankets atop the same straw mattress. Your whole body aches, but it's the ache of work well done, of effort that matters. Your father carefully banks the fire for the night, ensuring the embers will last until morning. Fire is life, and it must not go out. In the flickering light, your mother moves to each of her children and gently makes the sign of the cross over their heads. Religion is stitched into every part of your life. The church calendar tells you when to labor and when to rest. The priest blesses the fields. The saints are invoked to guard against sickness and poor harvests. You lie back, your head nestled into the familiar hollow in the straw mattress that seems perfectly shaped for you. The sounds of the cottage fill your ears, your siblings' soft breathing, your father's steady snore, the gentle creak of the cottage frame, the cow shifting in her shed. You think about the market tomorrow, the promise of something different, the chance to see new faces, and maybe, just maybe, to glimpse that Smith's son again. This is your life, a life of labor, of small comforts, of moments bound tightly to the land, the family, the rhythm of seasons. Predictable, yes, but not without its quiet joys. Your eyelids grow heavy. The warmth of the fire, the closeness of your family, the hum of nighttime sounds lull you towards sleep. The rain still falls outside, tapping softly against the thatch. You yawn, stretching out your legs, feeling the ache in your back loosen just slightly as your body finds its place in the bedding. Then, morning comes again, too soon. Sunlight slips through the crooked shutter and lands squarely across your eyes. You blink awake, confused for a moment that your back doesn't hurt from planting. Then you remember. Today is market day. The cottage is already in motion. Your mother is wrapping 6 eggs in straw and placing them in a small basket. 6, not bad. Might be enough to trade for the salt you need. Maybe more. The spun wool, the product of many evenings' work, is tied into tidy bundles. Up, Agnes, your mother says, catching your eye. We want to reach the market before midday. You stretch, wincing a little at the stiffness in your muscles, then slip out from under the blanket. The morning routine is familiar. Help rekindle the fire, fetch fresh water, check for eggs again, just one today, and help prepare breakfast. The porridge is the same as always, but this morning, there's a small drizzle of honey in it. A luxury, reserved for days like this. Market day. Mind the garden while we're gone, your mother tells Matilda, and help your father with whatever he needs. Your father and Thomas are already preparing to head back to the north field to continue the planting. Little John will stay behind with Matilda, helping in the way that 4-year-olds do, which mostly means chasing chickens and getting in the way. We'll bring back salt. You promise Matilda, who looks disappointed to be left behind. Maybe even something sweet, if there's enough to trade. The town is about 2 hours' walk from your village. The road starts narrow and dusty, winding between hedges and trees, eventually linking with the King's Highway. Your mother sets a brisk pace, the basket of eggs balanced carefully on her hip. You carry the bundles of wool in a cloth sack slung over one shoulder. Both of you wear your best clothing, still plain wool kirtless, but cleaner, patched with care, and less stained than your daily garments. Remember, your mother says, the same reminders she gives before every trip to market. Don't let Miller John shortchange you on the wool. 2 bundles should get us salt for the month, maybe a little more if he's feeling generous. And watch your basket around the town, boys. They'll swipe an egg faster than you can blink if you're not careful. You nod. You've heard it all before. But that doesn't make it less true. In this world, your family's resources are too precious to lose. Not through carelessness, and certainly not through naivete. As you near the town, the road gets livelier. Other villagers are headed the same way. Some on foot, some leading animals, others pushing carts. Men drive small livestock. Women carry baskets filled with cheese, eggs, and early vegetables. A few sturdier carts rumble by, owned by the better-off farmers or traders. Good day for the market, someone calls. And with each step closer to the town, your heart lifts just a little. To the market, calls Ella, a familiar figure from the neighboring village. She falls into step beside you with ease, her woven basket swinging gently at her side, filled with small cloth pouches. Elenina is known far and wide for her deep knowledge of herbs. She grows, dries, and blends them for both cooking and healing, selling her mixtures at market to help support her family's income. "How's that cough of your husband's?" your mother asks, glancing at her companion. Just last month, she'd traded 2 eggs for one of Elenina's herbal teas. Your father had fallen ill after a late winter rain, and the tea had soothed his lungs. It cleared right up, Elenina says with quiet confidence and a trace of pride. Just like I said it would. Men never believe it until they feel the difference themselves. Both women laugh, a warm, knowing sound, and you smile, quietly taking in the easy companionship between them. It's the sound of women who understand each other's burdens and speak the same unspoken language of daily struggle and small victories. Ahead, the town appears, modest by any modern standard, just a cluster of buildings gathered around a central market square and ringed by a low stone wall. But to your eyes, it's a marvel. The buildings are taller than those in your village, some even rising to a second floor. A few shops have goods displayed openly in their windows, though most of the real business happens outside, in the crowded, noisy square. As you pass through the town gate, the noise hits first. Voices everywhere, haggling, laughing, gossiping, some raised in argument. Then come the smells, the close press of human bodies, yes, but also the warmth of fresh bread from the baker's ovens, sharp smoke from the blacksmith's fires, the acrid tang of newly tanned leather. And less pleasant odors too, animal droppings, open drains that wind through the edge of the square. The market is alive with motion. Temporary stalls form uneven rows, merchants and traders displaying their goods on wooden planks or blankets spread directly on the ground. In one corner, livestock pens bustle with activity, mostly chickens and goats, though a few pigs and sheep move among them. Your mother navigates the crowd with practiced ease, leading you straight to your usual stops. First, to Miller John, a broad, burly man with flour dusted into the seams of his beard and clothing. Despite her usual warnings to be cautious, your mother trusts him more than most. He's fair, especially with regular customers. "Margaret," he nods as you arrive. "Agnes." Another nod, this one directed at you. "Well, today, is it?" Your mother hands him the bundles for inspection. His hands are thick, but his fingers are surprisingly deft as he tests the tension and twist of the yarn. "Good work, as always," he says with approval. "We're after salt," your mother replies. "And anything else this might be worth." The negotiation begins. It's a familiar dance. Offers, counteroffers, pauses. You watch closely, absorbing the technique. This is part of a woman's work, too. Knowing the worth of what you've produced, refusing to be cheated out of its value. Eventually, a deal is made, 2 bundles of wool in exchange for a small sack of salt and a modest handful of dried apples. A precious treat your younger siblings will no doubt squabble over later. Next, you stop at the egg seller's stall, a sharp-faced woman who buys from local villagers, then resells to townfolk for a tidy profit. Your mother's 6 eggs fetch a few copper coins. Not much, but real coin is rare in your life and can be traded for things you can't make yourself. With the major business done, there's time to wander. The market is full of wonders your family could never afford. Bright fabrics from foreign lands, gleaming metal tools shaped by skilled smiths, delicate glazed pottery that wouldn't splinter like your own wooden bowls. Then, a voice calls your name. "Agnes." You turn, spotting Emma, a girl about your age from a nearby village. You only see each other on market days or during church festivals, but over time, that's been enough to form a kind of friendship. "Mother, can I?" you start to ask. "Go on," she says with a nod, already knowing what you need. "Meet me by the church steps when the bell rings for midday prayers." You and Emma link arms, grinning as you head deeper into the crowd together. "Did you hear about Mary from Oakwood?" Emma leans in, lowering her voice. "She's marrying that Cooper's son, the one she's been eyeing since Christmas." This kind of talk is more than idle chatter. It's the true currency of young women. Who's marrying whom? Which girls are in trouble? Which boys are considered solid prospects? These stories carry weight. In a world where your choice of husband determines so much of your future, your comfort, your security, this is essential information. "The Smith's son is here," Emma whispers, nudging you and tilting her head toward a nearby stall. There he is, Edward, hammering a piece of glowing metal on a small anvil, sparks bursting like fireflies around him. The one you mentioned last time. That's him, right? Edward. Your cheeks heat instantly, though not from the sun. I don't know his name. You murmur, lying, though you've certainly asked around enough to learn it by now. Emma smirks. Well, he's looking at you. Sure enough, when you risk a glance, Edward is staring right at you. He offers a small, careful smile, then turns back to his work. At 16, Edward is already apprenticing under his father. Being a blacksmith's wife would mean a life in town. A house with real walls dividing the rooms. Maybe even glass in the windows, one day. Still hard work. No woman's life is without it. But the kind of work that varies with the seasons, not suffers under them. You should go talk to him, Emma urges. And say what? Emma laughs softly. Ask about what he's making. Anything. Just talk. You draw a breath, steady your hands, and step toward the smith's stall. Emma hangs back, eyes twinkling, barely hiding her anticipation. Edward looks up as you approach, gently setting down his hammer. Can I help you? He asks. His voice is deeper than you expected, with the slightest crack of youth still clinging to it. What are you making? The question comes out fast. Your eyes lock on the piece of metal on his anvil. Hinges, he replies, lifting the half-shaped piece. For the tavern's new door. They're very straight, you blurt out, and instantly want to disappear into the ground. Straight? That's all you could come up with? But Edward doesn't laugh. He smiles, genuinely, and seems pleased by your observation. They have to be, he says, turning the metal to show you the detail. If they're off even a little, the door won't hang right. See here? This edge needs to line up exactly with this one. You nod, even if you don't fully follow. He continues anyway, proud but not boastful. Been learning since I was 10. My father says I'll be ready to forge a full plowshare by winter. Just then, the church bell begins to ring midday prayers. I have to go, you say, regret flickering in your voice. My mother's waiting. Will you be at the midsummer fair? He asks quickly, before you can step away. The midsummer fair. The biggest event of the year. Dancing, trading, bonfires, celebration. Yes, you answer, hope swelling in your chest. Good, he says simply. I'll look for you. You walk back to the church steps, feeling lighter than air. Your mother stands waiting, a knowing look in her eye, though she says nothing about the smile you can't seem to hide. The midday service begins shortly after. It's in Latin, a language you don't understand, and neither do most villagers, but the rituals are familiar, comforting. You kneel and stand at the right moments, the sounds of prayers washing over you. But your thoughts are somewhere else entirely, at a blacksmith stall, beneath the sparks of his hammer. You follow the rituals, making the sign of the cross, kneeling and standing at the proper moments, until the final blessing is given. Afterward, your mother spins one of her precious copper coins on a small loaf of wheat bread from the baker's stall. It's a rare treat, softer and sweeter than the rough barley and rye loaves you usually bake at home. As you begin the long walk back to the village, the two of you break off small pieces and share it, savoring the delicate crumb and gentle sweetness. It's a delicious change from your daily fare. Did you enjoy your time with Emma? Your mother asks. Her voice is light, casual, but her eyes are sharp. Yes, you reply, keeping your answer short. You don't mention Edward, but mothers always seem to know. And the smith's boy, she adds, her tone still neutral. The one who couldn't take his eyes off you. You blush instantly. His name is Edward, you admit. He's learning to make plowshares. Your mother nods thoughtfully, absorbing the information. A good trade, she says. His father is well respected. And that's all she says. But you hear the approval tucked quietly beneath those words. A smith's son, a craftsman, would be a better match than you dared to hope for as a simple peasant girl. The walk home feels shorter somehow. Your mind is full of Edward's smile, of the midsummer fair, of what life might be like if things went differently for you than they had for your mother. Not easier, necessarily, but different. A life with more tools than toil. Maybe. As the village comes into view, you spot the thatched rooftops of the cottages, the fields stretching beyond, and the outline of your father and Thomas still at work in the distance. The animals need tending. The garden's calling for weeding. There's no room for daydreams now. Your younger siblings come rushing out to meet you, faces bright with curiosity, eager to see what you've brought back. You show them the dried apples, letting each take one piece and saving the rest for later. The salt is placed with care into a small earthenware jar, kept high on a shelf to keep it dry. It's more than seasoning, it's preservation survival. Salt is one of your family's most valuable possessions. There's no time to rest, even after the long walk. The garden needs water. Food must be prepared. Your mother sends you to chop vegetables for supper while she checks the small patch of flax growing behind the house. If the crop does well, it will be turned into linen for clothes. You set to work at the fire, slicing wild onions and carrots from last year's store. You drop them into the pot of pottage that simmers endlessly at the hearth. Today's stew will be made from what's left of the dried peas. No meat today. Salt pork is rationed, saved for days of hard labor when extra strength is needed. Still, your mind drifts to the hinges Edward was making, to the way his eyes met yours, to his question about the fair. You imagine the bonfire, the dancing, maybe his hand holding yours. Agnes! Your mother's voice cuts through your thoughts. You've let the pot boil too hard. The pottage is bubbling up toward the rim, threatening to spill over. You pull it away from the heat quickly, giving it a good stir. Sorry, you mutter. Head in the clouds today, your mother observes, but there's no harshness in her voice. Just something softer, recognition, perhaps. She was young once, too. Maybe once she dreamed of your father the way you now dream of Edward. The rest of the afternoon slips by in rhythm, chores, motion, duty. Your father and Thomas return, tired but satisfied. Fields are done, he says, washing the dirt from his hands at the basin. Tomorrow we move to the west field. Dinner is the same pottage, now enriched by a few pieces of the wheat bread from market. Your father notices the difference immediately. Good trading today? He asks. Your mother nods. The wool brought salt and dried apples. The eggs fetched a few coins. No one speaks of Edward. That part stays between you and your mother. After the meal, the family falls into the familiar evening routine, tidying up, preparing for the next day, spinning more wool. But tonight, something feels different. There's a quiet sense that the future holds more than just repetition. As night deepens, your father shares stories by firelight. Tales of saints, of miracles, of neighbors and old times before the Normans came. This is how memory is kept alive in your world, passed by voice, by repetition, shaped into the family's rhythm. Tell the one about St. Agnes, Matilda asks, glancing at you with a grin. She loves that you share a name with a saint, even if it was only a coincidence, passed down from your grandmother. Your father launches into the familiar tale. You've heard it so many times you could recite it yourself, the virgin girl who refused to marry a pagan and was protected by divine miracles. But it's not the content that comforts you. It's the cadence of your father's voice, rising and falling like the firelight on the walls. Outside, an all calls into the night. The fire burns low. Soon, it will be time for bed, and the cycle will begin again. Water, fire, food, work, the sacred order of peasant life. Your mother hands you another bundle of carded wool and the spindle. Even with aching arms, there's always more to spin. Around and around the spindle goes, the wool drawing out between your fingers, fine and even. It's soothing now. Your hands know what to do. In the fire's warmth, with your family surrounding you, you feel something close to peace. This is your life. Hard, repetitive, but known, familiar. And now, maybe, there's also a spark of something new. A chance. A path that wasn't there before. Edward's smile. The midsummer fair. The hope of something more than the life your mother has always known. Your eyelids grow heavy, even as your hands keep spinning. The shadows stretch long across the floor. One by one, your family drifts towards sleep, washing up with precious water, murmuring prayers, curling into their spots on the shared bedding. You bank the fire, just as your father taught you, checking that the embers will hold through the night. Fire is everything, not just warmth, but survival. It must never die. In the glow of dying coals, you slip onto your straw mattress, settling into that one spot where your hips fit just right. Your muscles slowly release their grip on the day's fatigue. You stretch out your legs, flex your toes, let your body melt into the familiar comfort of your bedding. Your thoughts drift between what is and what could be. The hard floor beneath the mattress. The gentle breathing of your siblings. The flicker of Edward's gaze across the market crowd. The weight of tomorrow's work already tugging at the edges of your mind. You yawn deep, full, satisfying. Then shift slightly, pulling your blanket tighter as night wraps around the cottage. You breathe in the scents of wood smoke and straw. You listen to the hush of your family all around you. Slowly, your breathing syncs with theirs. That's it. Just like that. The weight of the day settles into your bones, and the quiet darkness folds around you like a second blanket. The next few weeks blur together. Long hours, aching muscles, endless labor. Spring is the hardest season. The harvest from last year is nearly gone. The new crops haven't yet matured. Hunger whispers at the door. The new crops aren't ready for harvest yet. Each day becomes a delicate balance, rationing what remains from the last season while still keeping enough strength to carry out the work that must be done. The rhythm of life continues, steady and unrelenting. Fields are planted with barley, rye, oats, and peas. Gardens begin to yield the first delicate greens. The cow produces milk that, under your mother's skilled hands, becomes butter and cheese. The sheep are sheared, their wool feeding the never-ending cycle of carding, spinning, and weaving that fills your evenings. You catch yourself watching the sky more than usual, tracking the days, counting slowly as the midsummer fair draws near. You wonder, will Edward remember his promise? Will he look for you? Today is bread-making day. Once a week, the women of your family work side by side to produce the loaves that will sustain you through the coming days. It's a demanding process that starts before sunrise. Agnes, check the starter, your mother says, already tending to the fire. You move to the crock near the hearth, an old clay vessel where wild yeast lives in a simple mixture of flour and water. It's been in your family for generations, passed from mother to daughter, divided and maintained each time a new household is born. You remove the cloth cover and breathe in the sharp, tangy scent. Bubbles dot the surface, a sure sign of life. It's ready, you confirm. Bread making is serious work. A single misstep means wasted flour, and your family cannot afford that kind of mistake. You watch as your mother mixes the starter with more flour and water, kneading the dough with strong, practiced movements. Your turn, she says, stepping back and wiping her hands. You take over, pressing your weight into the dough, folding it again and again. Your arms quickly tire. This isn't soft, airy bread like the kind you've heard exists in wealthy homes. This bread is dense, dark, made with whatever grain is available, often barley or rye. Wheat, more expensive and sometimes reserved for taxes, is rarely used for household loaves. More strength in your wrists, your mother coaches from behind. It needs to be smooth before it rises. Finally, after what feels like hours, the dough is ready. You drape a cloth over it and place it near the fire to rise slowly. But while the dough rests, you don't. There's still water to draw, animals to tend, and other chores that keep the household running. Later in the morning, you and Matilda carry the laundry to the stream behind the village. It's mostly linens today, clothing is washed less often. The stream is icy, and your hands go numb as you scrub cloth against worn stones, using only a small amount of precious soap on the worst of the stains. Other village women are there, creating a kind of social circle around the labor. This is where news travels, where advice is shared, where connections deepen. Did you hear about the new tax? Asks Wyford, an older woman with hands shaped by decades of this same work. Lord Geoffrey Stewart announced it yesterday. Another silver penny for the King's War in France. A collective groan rises from the women. Another tax means more hardship, more careful calculations, perhaps going without something vital. My Thomas says the French deserve what's coming, says one woman. Maybe, replies another, but I say it's not worth our silver, fighting over which nobleman sits on which gilded chair. Politics may seem far from your village, but wars and taxes reach every doorstep. More taxes mean less food on the table. War means young men pulled from the fields when their hands are most needed. Everything touches survival in the end. You listen quietly, soaking in the rhythm of their voices, the weight of their concerns. This is learning too. Education in how to live within the forces you cannot control. Agnes, calls Joan, a woman near your mother's age. I hear you caught the eye of the smith's boy at market. Her tone is light, teasing, but not unkind. In small villages, news travels fast. Your cheeks burn with warmth despite the spring chill. We just talked, you mumble, concentrating hard on the sheet you're scrubbing. He's a good lad, Joan says with a nod. Strong arms. Steady work. His mother was my cousin. You know, good family. In your world, courtship isn't judged only by affection. It's about family reputation, work ethic, skill, and survival. Who he is, and where he comes from, matters as much as what's in his heart. The midsummer fair will be here before we know it, Winterfred adds with a knowing smile. Many a match has been made on those warm nights. By the time you and Matilda return to the cottage, the linens are freshly washed and strung over nearby bushes to dry in the sun. The bread dough has risen beautifully in your absence. Your mother is already tending to the communal oven, a large stone structure in the center of the village, shared among families since few can afford the materials or fuel to build their own. The dough is divided into 4 heavy loaves, shaped and placed on wooden paddles for sliding into the hot oven. Timing is everything. Leave them too long and they'll burn, not long enough, and they'll stay raw inside, which could make someone sick. Watch the color, your mother instructs Matilda, her voice low and serious. When the crust is the brown of a hazelnut, it's ready. The rich, warm scent of baking bread fills the air, making your stomach ache with hunger, even after the small breakfast. One of the hardest parts of baking day is the waiting. You won't be allowed to cut into a fresh loaf until it's fully cooled, and not a crumb can be wasted. While the bread bakes, you and your father and brother begin another vital task, repairing the wattle fence around the garden. The winter has softened and rotted parts of it, leaving openings that hungry animals might exploit. Hold this straight, your father says, handing you a freshly cut hazel branch. You brace it upright while he weaves thinner, flexible branches horizontally through the uprights, creating a tight lattice. This kind of work doesn't look like much, but it takes knowledge of which woods to use, how to bend them without breaking, how to make the fence strong enough to last another season. Skills passed quietly, from parent to child, hand to hand. The knowledge of which woods bend best, how to cut and season each branch, and how to weave them tightly for strength. These aren't things you learn from a book. They're passed from hand to hand, from parent to child, through generations of lived experience. By midday, both tasks are complete. The new fence stands firm, and the bread has finished baking. For warm loaves now rest on the cottage table, their earthy aroma filling every corner of the small space. Your mother slices a thin piece from one of them, a quiet luxury reserved for baking day, and divides it evenly among the family. The bread is dense and chewy, not soft or airy like the kind you've only heard about in tales. But it's satisfying in a way few things are, because you helped bring it into the world, plowing, planting, harvesting, threshing, milling, kneading, baking. Every bite is built on hours of labor. Good texture, your father says, chewing slowly. From a man of few words, it's high praise. Should last the week. The small moment of celebration passes, and then it's back to work. This afternoon's task is gathering herbs and edible plants from the meadows and woodland edges surrounding the village. It's mainly women's work, rooted in ancient knowledge passed from mother to daughter, a deep understanding of which plants nourish, which ones heal, and which to avoid. Look for young nettles, your mother says as you follow her along a woodland path, basket in hand. They're good in pottage, and they build the blood. You spot their jagged leaves easily, and pinch them low at the stem, careful to avoid the sting. Your fingertips are calloused enough by now that the slight burn barely registers. You add the fresh greens to the basket beside dandelion leaves, wild garlic, and tender sorrel. Is this the right one? Matilda asks, holding up a plant with small white flowers. Your mother pauses, studies it, then nods. Good eye, that stitch word. Eases pain in the side. See how the leaves grow opposite on the stem? That's how you know it's safe, not the poisonous look-alike. This knowledge is survival. There are no doctors in your world, no hospitals for common folk. Women are the ones who keep households healthy. Every cottage has its own bundles of dried herbs hanging from the rafters, pots of salves and tinctures waiting to treat fever, cuts, childbirth pain. You've been learning since before you could properly speak, but there's always more to understand. Which phase of the moon brings potency? How to dry each plant properly? Which ones combine well? Which don't? When you're married, your mother says, gently prying up a valerian root, make sure to plant mint and rosemary by your door. Mint keeps the fleas away. Rosemary strengthens the heart. She says it simply, as if it's just another bit of instruction. But the mention of your future makes you think of Edward again. Would a smith's home even have space for a garden? Would you gather in common lands, or buy what you couldn't grow? The basket fills steadily as the sun arcs across the sky. These gathered herbs and greens will stretch your meals and your remedies for days to come, bringing nourishment after months of lean eating. On the way back to the village, you pass by the manor house, a tall stone structure that looks impossibly large compared to your humble home. You avoid stepping onto the Lord's private woodland. Even a fallen branch taken without permission can lead to harsh punishment. Lady Isabel's with child again, your mother murmurs, glancing toward the house. The midwife was called last night. Despite the vast divide between rich and poor, childbirth levels the field. The same midwife who will attend a lady of the manor will also help your mother when her time comes. The same herbs ease noble pain and peasant pain alike. Death in childbirth is a fear every woman knows, regardless of the roof over her head. Back at home, the fresh herbs must be processed right away. Some are tied into bunches and hung from the rafters to dry. Others are chopped for tonight's pottage. The medicinal ones are sorted, some steeped in water, others soaked in precious wine or ale. A few are mashed with honey or rendered fat to make healing salves. As the sun dips lower, your father and Thomas return from checking the fish traps in the stream. They've caught 3 small fish, enough to enrich the evening meal. "Matilda," your mother says, handing her the catch, "show me what you've learned." At only 8 years old, your sister is already being trained in every skill she'll one day need. She hesitates only a moment, then gets to work, cleaning the fish with a sharp knife, removing scales, heads, and innards with quiet focus. Nothing is wasted. Bones and heads will go into the stew. The guts will feed the chickens. You grind dried herbs in a stone mortar to make a cough remedy for old Walter, the widower who lives alone. His wife died last winter, and now the village looks after him in small ways, because one day, someone will do the same for you. Dinner is better than usual, thanks to the fresh herbs and fish. Everyone eats with quiet satisfaction, aware of how rare it is to have this much protein on a regular evening. When darkness settles, the cottage dims. Light is a luxury used sparingly. Rush lights, thin reeds dipped in animal fat, burn low to stretch what little you have. Most work halts once the sun is gone. Tonight, though, feels slightly different. Your mother pulls out a small lump of beeswax, precious and saved, and begins shaping it into a candle. She twists a flaxwick between her fingers, then presses it gently into the wax. "For the church," she explains, catching your curious look. "St. John's feast is next week. Religion is woven through every part of life, the calendar, the labor, the rituals. Every family offers what they can. Some give time, others food, others crafts like this candle." As she molds the wax with her warmed hands, your father mends a cracked leather harness. Thomas whittles a new handle for one of the hose. You and Matilda card wool, combing the fibers smooth to prepare for spinning. Even in these dim hours, idleness is rare. "Will we go to the midsummer fair?" Matilda asks softly, her hands moving steadily through the carding combs. "If the weather holds," your father replies, always cautious. "And if the early crops look good." Your heart beats faster. "Will Edward be there? Will he remember?" "The steward said there'll be a traveling player this year," Thomas chimes in. "With dogs that dance and count. Entertainment is rare in your world." Moments like the midsummer fair offer more than joy. They offer a break in the hard, endless rhythm. Music. Laughter. Something to remember when winter comes again. And dancing, your mother adds with a faint smile. There's always dancing at midsummer. The conversation drifts naturally to memories of past fairs, the year it rained so heavily that the bonfire refused to light, the midsummer when your father won the strength contest and brought home a new knife as a prize, the first time your parents danced together, beginning the courtship that would eventually lead to their marriage. These stories aren't just entertainment. They are how history lives and breathes in your family, shared aloud, shaped by memory, handed down like woven cloth, generation to generation. In a world where few can read, this is how the past survives. As the evening deepens and shadows lengthen, even the simplest tasks grow hard to finish. The family slowly prepares for sleep, washing hands and faces with the smallest trickle of clean water, whispering familiar prayers, finding their usual spots on the shared straw bedding. Your mother's hand pauses briefly atop your head before she lies down. No words are spoken, but the touch carries meaning, a silent blessing heavy with hope. For your health, for happiness, for a good match, for children of your own one day, to teach as she has taught you. You lie back in your place, the same dip in the mattress that cradles your hip just right. The sounds of your family breathing around you settle into a rhythm you know by heart. And your thoughts, as always, begin to wander, half-rooted in the chores of tomorrow, half dancing ahead to dreams not yet lived. Will the weather hold for tomorrow's fieldwork? Did you hang the herbs correctly to dry? What will you wear to the midsummer fair? Will Edward find you in the crowd? The cottage is cloaked in darkness now, save for the faint orange glow of the fire's banked embers. Outside, an owl calls from the trees, and somewhere distant, a fox barks its reply. These are the sounds that lull you to sleep, as familiar as your own heartbeat. Despite the constant work, the hardships, the uncertainty that always hovers just outside your door, there is security in the rhythm. You know your place. You have skills that matter: spinning, planting, gathering, healing. You belong to a web of family and land and season. The wheel turns, and you turn with it. Your eyelids grow heavier. Your muscles melt into the mattress, soar in a way that feels right. The long day has left you deeply tired but not undone. You shift a little under your wool blanket, feel the comforting weight settle over your limbs. A soft yawn escapes, your jaw stretching wide, and the last of the tension in your shoulders begins to ease. That's it. Just like that. You let yourself drift, right into that quiet space between wakefulness and dreaming, where the world of straw and smoke and spinning wheels blends gently with the shimmer of things to come. The next morning begins just like every other, rekindling the fire, fetching water, preparing food, but this day hums with a quiet buzz of excitement. News spreads through the village like wildfire. A traveling peddler has arrived, setting up his wares near the church. These visits are rare, and they break the monotony of daily life in ways that feel almost magical. Peddlers bring whispers from other villages, the scent of foreign spice, odd tools and trinkets that no one nearby could make. Sometimes, they even carry letters, for the few families who still have kin in distant places. Your mother presses a copper coin into your palm, one saved carefully from the last egg sale. See if he has any needles, she says. The fine kind. For mending. And ask what news he carries. You nod and set out toward the church green, where others are already gathered. The peddler is a middle-aged man with a weather-worn face and sharp, curious eyes. His clothing is colorful, layers of woven and stitched fabric more vivid than anything worn in your village. His blanket is spread on the grass, and on it, an impossible variety of treasures glint in the morning light. Spools of ribbon, tiny blades, hairpins, bracelets, bits of lace, little pots of balm and scent, and, yes, needles. Come, good people, he calls with practiced flair. I bring goods from London, from fairs on the continent, things to delight the eye and ease your labor. You kneel beside his display and examine the needles carefully. You find one with a smooth, perfectly rounded eye, one that won't fray the thread. But the price he names is steep. That's highway robbery, you say, channeling your mother's bargaining voice. Highway robbery? He repeats with a chuckle. This, my dear girl, is the work of London's finest smiths. Feel the balance, the smoothness. This needle will last you years with care. You counter. He resists. And back and forth the two of you go in the timeless dance of barter until, at last, you strike a deal. As you tuck the precious needle into your apron pocket, he leans in slightly. Stay a moment, he says in a quieter voice. There's news, too. The gathered villagers listen as he speaks. Some of the news is grim. The king's war in France goes badly. More taxes are likely. There's talk of sickness in the eastern counties, a fever that claims young and old alike. Worry ripples through the crowd. Wars take sons from fields. Illness spreads quickly in small villages. Every word he speaks carries weight. But not all is bleak. There are tales of good harvests to come, stories of fairs larger than anything you've seen, rumors of miracles at a new saint's shrine. You absorb every detail. Later, you'll retell these stories to your mother, your siblings, adding your own impressions, making them part of your village's growing patchwork of shared truth. As the villagers begin to disperse, the peddler catches your eye again. You, he says with a grin. The girl with the sharp eye for a good needle. You turn, surprised. I have a message for you, he says, voice lowered again. From the smith's son. Edward, I believe. Your breath catches. A message? For me? He nods, amusement dancing in his eyes. He says he's crafting something special. A gift. He plans to give it to you at the midsummer fair, if you'll accept it. Your cheeks flood with heat. A gift? That's more than casual. That means something. Thank you, you say softly, barely louder than a whisper. The peddler winks. Young love, he murmurs. Always nice to witness. Then he turns back to his wares, leaving you standing there, heart pounding, mind spinning. You walk home quickly, eager to help your mother, eager to find the right moment to share what you've just heard. The needle in your apron feels almost too warm, as if carrying the weight of a secret. A connection. A promise. That evening, as you spin beside your mother, you finally speak. The peddler said, Edward is making something. For me. Your mother's hands never pause, but you can see she's listening. Her eyes remain on the wool in her lap. A gift, she repeats. Did he say what? You shake your head. Just that it's something special. She nods again, thoughtful. The smith's son. A good match, if it comes to that. Then she smiles, a rare, warm curve of the lips. Better than I managed at your age. And that, though she'll say no more, is her blessing. Her approval, quiet and complete. The hardships of peasant life don't leave much space for romantic daydreams. But even in this world, parents still quietly hope their children will find not only a good match, but one with some thread of affection and compatibility. What will you give him in return? Your mother asks, her voice pragmatic. You hadn't even thought of that. Courtship is a two-way exchange, and gifts, like promises, should go both ways. I could weave a belt, you offer, hesitating. Or maybe embroider a kerchief? Your mother thinks for a moment. the knots, the belt. You have a good hand for weaving, and it's useful for a man who works. She gets up and crosses to the small wooden chest near the wall. This is where she keeps her most treasured possessions, protected through years of hardship. She lifts the lid and retrieves a neat bundle, dyed wool threads in vibrant shades of blue and red, colors richer and deeper than anything you wear in daily life. "I've been saving these," she says softly, handing the bundle to you. "For your future. This seems a worthy use." You say nothing for a moment. Just hold the threads in your hand, feeling the weight of them, both literal and symbolic. These precious strands were likely bartered or saved for years, preserved through lean seasons and hard winters. The fact that she offers them now, freely, for something as uncertain as love, speaks volumes. "Thank you," you murmur, understanding more than words can express. "We'll start tomorrow," she says. "There's time before midsummer. Enough to make something worthy of a craftsman's eye." That night, you lie on your straw mattress, mind turning over everything. The smooth copper needle now safely tucked into your apron pocket. The vibrant threads waiting to become something real. And Edward, his hands, steady at the forge, shaping something just for you. The room is dark except for the fading embers of the fire. Your family breathes steadily around you. Outside, summer insects have begun their nightly chorus, a soft buzzing hum that will grow louder as midsummer nears. Your body settles easily into the familiar bedding, nestling into the hollow you've worn into the straw over countless nights. The ache in your limbs is the good kind, the kind that speaks of honest labor and purpose. A yawn slips free, your jaw stretching wide. Your shoulders ease as you shift slightly, breath slowing, relaxing under the weight of your blanket. That's it. Nice and easy. Just like that. The events of the day soften at the edges, blurring into the background, replaced by the warm, flickering anticipation of what lies ahead. The weeks leading up to midsummer are always the busiest of the year for peasant families. The days stretch longer, offering more daylight to squeeze in more work. Crops must be tended, weeding, thinning, some early harvesting. Hay must be cut at the exact right moment, not too early, or the grass won't give its full yield, not too late, or its value for winter feed drops. For women like you and your mother, this time brings specific, demanding responsibilities. The work never truly eases, but it shifts with the season, becoming more urgent, more precise. Today you're in the family garden, carefully thinning out rows of vegetables. Pulling the wrong plant could ruin a section. Keeping too many too close stunts them all. "Not that one," your mother says gently but firmly, pointing to a seedling your fingers are about to tug loose. "The leaves are stronger. That one stays." You nod, absorbing the correction. The garden may be small compared to the fields, but it's vital. This is where the food with the most nutrients grows, greens and roots that sustain your family now, and if stored well, will carry you through the winter. "Will we pickle cabbage again this year?" Matilda asks from beside you, working her own row. If the crop is good, your mother replies, "The barrel needs mending first." The exchange is simple, but it carries weight. Pickled cabbage, what modern people might call sauerkraut, is a staple. It preserves well. It's essential nutrition when nothing else grows. The sun beats down as morning turns to midday. Sweat trickles along your spine, dampening the back of your linen chemise. But there's no rest yet. The garden must be finished before moving on. As you work, your mind wanders again to the belt. Each evening after supper, you've been sitting near the fire, weaving the colored threads into a pattern of interlocking diamonds. The colors gleam with quiet strength, blue and red, fire and form. Decorative, yes, but also sturdy. A belt for a working man. "Agnes," your mother snaps, breaking your reverie. "You're pulling lovage." You freeze. She's right. You've mistaken a useful medicinal herb for a weed. You blush, embarrassed. "Sorry, mother." She gives you a knowing look. No scolding. Perhaps she remembers moments like this from when she was young, distracted by thoughts of your father in her own way. By early afternoon, the garden is complete. Your back aches from the hours spent bent over rows of plants. Dirt clings beneath your nails, no matter how many times you try to scrub it clean. Still, there's satisfaction in seeing the neat rows and open spaces. You've done good work. There's washing to be done, your mother says, already on the move. You gather the laundry, mostly linens today. Outer clothes are rarely washed, but the inner garments that touch the skin must be cleaned regularly to help prevent illness. At the stream, other women have already gathered. You roll up your sleeves and wade into the cold water, hands going numb as you scrub cloth against stone. There's something rhythmic about it, even soothing in its own way. And here, among women, the world softens a little. This isn't just labor, it's where stories are shared, questions asked, laughter sometimes sparked. Agnes calls Elena, the herb woman from the next village, her voice playful. I heard a whisper about you and the smith's boy. You feel your face go hot. The cool spring breeze brushes your cheeks. You focus hard on a stubborn stain in the fabric, hoping your silence will be read as modesty and not panic. Is he making something for you? Asks another woman, a young wife with a baby strapped to her back, her hands busy wringing out cloth. Maybe, you say, not offering more. The women exchange knowing looks. In a world without written records or official matchmakers, community gossip is its own kind of matchmaking. These conversations are how couples are gently shaped, tested, approved. A smith makes a good husband, says Winter Fred, the eldest washerwoman. Work you can count on, not like farming. And they live longer, too, not bent over in the fields every day. It's said like fact, and in this world, it is. Romance has its place, but it's practicality that builds households. He's got gentle hands for a smith, Elena adds with a wink. I've seen the fine work he does, buckles and clasps, precise little things. That's a rare thing in a man. You smile to yourself, but keep your eyes on your work. Soon, the conversation shifts. Everyone's already thinking about the fair. Who's bringing what to the feast? Which families will contribute to the brewing? Which young people might end the night walking home hand in hand beneath the stars? The Lord Steward has announced something new this year. Musicians will be coming for midsummer. Someone mentions a piper and a drummer traveling from the next county. The news spreads quickly, and you feel the shift in the air around you. Music is rare in your world, outside of solemn church singing or the occasional wandering minstrel. The idea of dancing to real instruments rather than clapping and voices alone makes the coming festival feel even more magical. You finish wringing out the last of the wet linens, arms sore from the effort, water dripping down your elbows. The clean garments are laid across bushes to dry in the sun, a luxury only available during summer. In the colder months, drying must happen by the fire, which fills the small cottage with damp smoke and heavy air. Back home, your mother is already working on a special loaf for the festival, one that's different from your daily bread. This one is made with precious ingredients, a spoonful of honey, a handful of dried fruit saved specifically for celebrations. The scent as it bakes in the communal oven makes your stomach twist with longing. We'll need to gather more herbs tomorrow, she says while you help shape the dough. Midsummer herbs are best when the sun is highest. This kind of folk wisdom is woven into your life, part Christian, part much older. Though the church officially disapproves of such superstitions, the village priest usually looks the other way as long as the people show up for Mass and give their tithes. That evening, your father returns from the fields with news. The hay cutting begins tomorrow. All hands needed, he announces. It's not unexpected. The timing depends on the grass and the weather, and now it can't be delayed. The festival is the day after tomorrow, which means tomorrow will be long, filled with both the hard work of haying and final festival preparations. Will we still have time to gather the herbs? You ask your mother in a low voice as you clean up from supper. We'll go at midday, she replies, when the sun is at its highest. Your father and Thomas can manage without us for a little while. The next morning dawns clear and blazing. The sky promises heat, the kind of dry brightness perfect for hay. You wake before the light fully fills the cottage, helping your mother prepare a heartier breakfast than usual. Cutting hay requires more strength than your regular field work. Everyone eats quickly, eager to get started before the heat settles into the day. At the hay meadow, the entire village has gathered. The men form a line, standing shoulder to shoulder, each gripping a long-handled scythe. You, your mother, and Thomas fallen behind them with wooden rakes. Even little Matilda has come to help collect the smaller piles, though she'll tire before long. The work begins in a rhythm that's almost beautiful to witness. The sweep of metal blades slicing through the tall grass in unison creates a sound like whispers. A wide swath of green falls with each pass. Behind them, you and the other rakers spread the cut grass evenly across the field so the sun can dry it properly. It's hot work. Brutal, in fact. There's no shade, and within the first hour, your clothes are soaked through. Your arms throb with each pass of the rake. But there's camaraderie here. Jokes and songs travel down the line. Stories pass between families. Young children too small to work are watched by elders sitting on the meadow's edge, those who no longer have the strength to labor but still contribute in quieter ways. By midday, half the field is down. The men pause to sharpen their scythes with wet stones, the metallic scrape ringing through the air. Everyone stops briefly to eat. Bread, cheese, and ale brought from home in wooden containers. During the break, your mother catches your eye and mouths silently. Now, You nod. The two of you slip away unnoticed, walking toward the woods on the edge of the meadow. No one questions your absence. Gathering midsummer herbs is understood to be important, even during haying. In the dappled forest shade, the air feels almost cool. Your mother moves with familiarity, pointing to plants that to untrained eyes would look like weeds. St. John's wort, she says, stopping beside a bright yellow flower. Gathered at midsummer, it protects against evil. Good for sadness, too. You kneel and begin plucking the blossoms gently, careful to leave enough for the plant to thrive. Sustainable harvesting is instinctual. You know your family and neighbors depend on these plants year after year. Here, your mother continues, crouching over a patch of white flowers. Chickweed. For salves. It's ruled by the moon, but picked at noon on midsummer, it's extra strong. Whether these details have scientific truth is beside the point. These are the truths that have kept your people healthy. You've been absorbing this wisdom your entire life. With your baskets nearly full, the two of you return to the hay meadow. Work has resumed, and without speaking, you fall back into line, picking up your rake and joining the rhythm once more. By late afternoon, the entire field has been cut. The hay lies spread and drying under the high sun. Tomorrow, if the weather holds, it will be turned again, then gathered into neat stacks and stored in the communal barn. This feed will keep the livestock alive through winter. You're exhausted. Everyone is. But the work is done. You return to the village with the rest, thinking only of water, food, and rest. But there's still supper to prepare, animals to tend, and final midsummer tasks to complete. At the cottage, despite your aching arms and sore feet, you help your mother hang the herbs from the rafters in bunches. Some will be dried for medicine, others used as part of tomorrow's celebration. Did you finish the belt? She asks as she adjusts a bundle of mint. You nod, your stomach fluttering with nerves and pride. It's ready. The belt is your finest work, blue and red diamonds woven in a strong, repeating pattern across a neutral background. The fringe is tightly braided, the weave even. It took every evening you had. Every ounce of focus you could spare after long days in the fields. Let me see, your mother says. You retrieve it from its hiding place, wrapped in clean cloth. She examines it closely, fingers moving across the fabric, checking tension, testing symmetry. Good work, she says at last. You hadn't realized you'd been holding your breath. From your mother, those two words are high praise. He'll be pleased with it, she adds, wrapping it again and setting it aside for tomorrow. There's still evening work to do, feeding the animals, checking the chickens, prepping dough for tomorrow's bread. Even now, as the sun sets, no hands are idle. But tonight, a quiet energy hums through the house. Despite the physical fatigue from the hay field, everyone is buzzing. Tomorrow isn't just any day, it's midsummer. One of the most important days of the year, the sun's peak, the unofficial beginning of the harvest season. We'll leave after morning chores, your father says, a rare allowance. The hay can wait one day to be turned. His words are met with a ripple of excitement from the children. Even your father, so tied to duty, understands that these celebrations matter, not just for enjoyment, but for keeping the village strong and connected. That night, sleep doesn't come easily. Though your body is aching, your mind is alive with thoughts of what tomorrow might bring. The festival, the dancing, Edward and his mysterious gift, the carefully woven belt you'll give him in return. These things occupy your thoughts as you lie in the dark, restless despite the exhaustion in your limbs. In the world of a medieval peasant, opportunities for personal expression or individual decision-making are rare. Most of your life is ruled by necessity, tradition, and duty to both family and community. But moments like this, the creation of a special gift, the anticipation of a dance beneath the stars, offer small, fleeting windows into a different kind of happiness. One that feels your own. You shift on your straw mattress, trying to find a comfortable position, your body tired, but your heart too awake to follow it into sleep. The cottage is quiet except for the rhythmic breathing of your family and the soft rustling of mice moving through the thatch overhead. Through the crooked window, moonlight spills onto the packed earth floor in a silver ribbon. Tomorrow night, the midsummer bonfires will light the sky. People will dance and leap through flames, hoping for luck and fertility. They'll gather herbs by moonlight. The priest will bless the fire, adding a Christian seal to traditions far older than his robes. It's a night when ancient beliefs stir beneath the surface, when the village comes alive with something more than duty. And somewhere in that swirling celebration, you hope to find Edward, to give him your belt, to receive whatever he's made for you, and maybe to speak about a future that stretches beyond a single summer night. Finally, your eyelids begin to droop. Images blur and soften. Dancers circling fire blend with Edward's smile at market. the weight of the belt in your hands. The unknown gift he is crafting even now. A yawn stretches your jaw wide as your muscles relax, easing into the hollowed shape in the straw that fits your body perfectly. You nestle deeper beneath the blanket, breath slowing. The sounds of the night, wind through thatch, someone shifting in sleep, wrap around you gently, cradling you between waking and dreams. That's it. Just like that. You drift easily into rest, carried by anticipation toward the festival that awaits. When midsummer morning comes, sunlight pours golden through the shuttered window, waking you with a flutter in your stomach. Today is not just any festival. It's a day that might reshape the lines of your life. The cottage is already stirring. Even the morning chores seem lighter today, done quickly and efficiently, as if every task is propelled by the excitement hanging in the air. Agnes, help Matilda with her hair, your mother calls as she finishes wrapping food for the feast, bread, cheese, and the honey cake she baked the night before. Every family contributes something to the communal table. You sit your younger sister on a stool and begin combing her tangled brown hair with the wooden comb you all share. Unlike most days, her hair will be left down, unbraided, uncovered. That's the custom for unmarried girls during festivals. Will you put flowers in it? She asks, her voice hopeful. If we find some pretty ones on the way, you say with a smile, gently working through a stubborn knot. You've already combed your own hair, letting it fall in loose waves down your back. You washed it last night with soap, saved for special occasions, rinsed it with the herbal mixture your mother prepared. In the morning light, it shines. Your best dress, a slightly brighter blue than usual, hangs ready. It's still simple, but the embroidery your mother added around the neckline and sleeves makes it special. The tiny stitches speak of countless winter nights spent quietly preparing for moments like this. Underneath, you'll wear your cleanest linen chemise, freshly dried in the warm summer air. No one outside your home will see it, but cleanliness on a feast day is important. It's a way of showing respect, both practical and sacred. Thomas, the water bucket is empty again. Your mother calls, momentarily grounding the festive mood with an ordinary concern. Even on midsummer, there's no escaping the basics. Thirst must be quenched, fire must be fed, animals must be tended. As the morning progresses, you help your younger siblings prepare. You carefully wrap the belt you've made for Edward in clean cloth and tuck it into the small pouch at your waist. Even your father, not one for vanity, has washed his face with a splash of precious water and combed his beard. Small signs that this day matters. By mid-morning, your family joins the line of villagers walking toward the meadow on the edge of the forest. The same place it's always been held. For generations. From a distance, you can already see the festival taking shape. The tall maypole stands at the center, dressed with bright ribbons and fresh summer flowers. A great stack of wood waits beside it, ready for the evening bonfire. The celebration is already in motion when you arrive. Music fills the air, lively tunes from a piper, a drummer, and a man playing a stringed instrument you don't recognize. Children run freely, their everyday tasks suspended for just this one day. Elders sit in the shade, watching with soft smiles, remembering past summers, past dances. You scan the crowd, heart quickening. Is Edward here yet? Your mother's voice brings you back to the moment. Agnes, help me spread the blanket. You kneel beside her and help lay out your family's space for the day. A warm wool blanket smoothed across the grass. Your mother begins unpacking the food, setting it aside for the communal table being arranged beneath a canopy of branches. And somewhere, you know, Edward is out there. Among the music, the laughter, the sun-drenched grass. Waiting, maybe, just as you are. The festival unfolds as it always has, following age-old rhythms that weave Christian ritual with older, earthbound traditions, much like every other part of medieval village life. It begins with a blessing from the village priest, who makes the sign of the cross over the gathered crowd, murmuring Latin words few understand yet all revere. Then, the revelry begins, games that test strength and skill for the men and boys, including your father and Thomas. There are archery contests, wrestling bouts, and barefoot races across the meadow. The women have their own competitions, who can spin the most thread, who can name the most herbs by touch and smell alone, even contests to balance multiple water buckets without spilling a drop. You take part in a few, but your heart isn't fully in them. Your eyes scan the crowd again and again, searching for Edward. As midday draws near with still no sign of him, a quiet worry begins to twist in your stomach. What if he doesn't come? What if the peddler's message was mistaken, or worse, a cruel joke? He'll come, your mother says gently, noticing the tension in your face. Townfolk usually arrive after morning work. Her voice is steady, sure, and she's right. Just as the great communal meal begins, a group arrives from the direction of town. Among them is Edward. Your heart catches. He walks with a group of young men, all dressed in their best, but to you he stands apart, taller, broader in the shoulders, shaped by his daily labor at the forge. His gaze sweeps the crowd, clearly searching. Then his eyes find yours. His whole face lights up with a smile that sends warmth straight through your chest. But the feast takes precedence, and there's no time for words. He sits with his friends, and you with your family. The food laid out is abundant by your village's standards. Hearty loaves both light and dark, cheese is sharp and soft, vegetables pulled fresh from gardens, meats preserved through winter, pies filled with the season's first fruit. There's even ale flowing freely from barrels. For one day, everyone eats well. The usual hierarchy of class and gender softens in the glow of shared celebration. Throughout the meal, you catch Edward looking your way. Each time, his smile returns, like a shared secret passed silently between you. The anticipation grows, subtle, electric. Even the air feels different on your skin. After the meal, the music resumes. Traditional circle dances begin, with children and elders joining in, the steps passed down through generations, easy and familiar. As the afternoon unfolds, the tempo increases. The younger villagers peel off into their own groups, the dancing more energetic now, movements quicker. It's during this shift that couples begin to emerge, slipping into quiet conversations, subtle pairings watched with curiosity and quiet approval. Your moment comes between dances. Edward appears at your side, slightly breathless from the last set. Agnes, he says, your name soft in his mouth, gentle and sure. I've been looking forward to seeing you. You nod, unable to suppress your smile. Me too, you reply, suddenly shy after all these weeks of wondering and hoping. The moment stretches, neither of you speaking, though much hangs in the air. Around you, people are watching. Courtship in your world is a public matter. It unfolds in full view of the village that will someday absorb your union or reject it. Would you walk with me? Edward asks, nodding toward the edge of the meadow. Other couples are already there, strolling at the boundary of the celebration, close enough to be proper, but far enough for private words. You glance at your mother. She meets your gaze and gives a subtle nod. Permission granted. Boundaries acknowledged. You walk side by side toward a wide oak tree at the field's edge, a quiet spot that feels apart from the crowd yet still anchored in community. You maintain a respectful distance, no hands touch, no arms brush. These early steps toward partnership are measured, careful. I made something for you, Edward says once you reach the shade of the tree. He unties a small leather pouch from his belt and pulls out a cloth-wrapped bundle. Your breath catches. I made something for you too. You exchange the bundles, fingers brushing in the handoff. A flicker of warmth passes between your palms, brief, startling, electric. You unwrap the cloth. Inside is a brooch shaped like a flower, delicate and intricate, forged from darkened metal. Each of its 5 petals has been carefully textured to mimic a real bloom, and at its center sits a tiny polished stone that glints in the light. It's the most beautiful thing you've ever held. It's beautiful, you whisper, genuinely stunned by the craftsmanship and the meaning behind it. Such a gift represents days of work. It costs real material, real time, real thought. I thought, maybe it could hold your cloak in winter, Edward offers, nervous now. The stone, it's for protection. My father helped me polish it. The mention of his father matters. His involvement signals approval. Just like your mother gifted you the special threads for Edward's belt, his father's hand in the brooch means this is more than a boy's infatuation. It's a family recognizing potential. Edward unwraps your gift now. He runs a callous thumb across the woven pattern, taking in the symmetry, the tight weave, the vibrant blues and reds. This is fine work, he says, eyes meeting yours with something more than admiration. The diamonds for strength? You nod, heart thudding. And the colors for fire and water, he adds, understanding. The smith's elements. You smile. Exactly. That he sees the meaning you wove into the belt. It connects you. Shared language. Shared craft. Shared hope. Thank you, he says again, threading the belt through the loops of his leather apron, even here at the festival. I'll wear it always. Even at the forge. In your world, there is no higher compliment than use. A gift worn and used means it's valued not just for beauty, but for purpose. And I'll wear your brooch, you promise. On market days. And feast days. Already, you can picture the admiration in the eyes of the other women. This isn't just ornament, it's a symbol. Around you, the festival carries on. The music continues, the laughter rises, and shouts echo from games still in progress. But here, under the oak tree, a more intimate festival takes place, the quiet, sacred beginning of something lasting. My father says I'll be ready for my masterwork by winter, Edward tells you, pride lighting his voice. If it's approved, I can start taking commissions of my own by spring. The implications hover between you. A craftsman who takes commissions is one who can support a household, start a life with a wife. My mother says my weaving's good enough to sell now, you say, answering him. It's more than conversation, it's a declaration of your own worth, what you bring. Your hands know more than thread. You know herbs. You know gardens. You know the skills that keep a home alive. The conversation deepens about work, about family, about the small moments around you. With each shared glance, each word, you feel something forming. A foundation. A path. As the golden light begins to lower across the field, you both turn slowly, starting the walk back. The main celebration draws to a close with no formal promises spoken. Such commitments would be too soon, too bold after only 2 encounters. But something important has begun. A path has opened, a future hinted at, not declared. As dusk deepens, the evening portion of the festival begins. The great midsummer bonfire is lit with both ceremony and prayer, flames roaring skyward as darkness blankets the meadow. The fire's golden light dances across faces, casting familiar features and flickering shadows, turning neighbors into silhouettes of mystery and legend. More dancing follows, but now in firelight. These dances feel older, wilder, like echoes of something ancient kept alive by tradition. Young people leap over smaller fires, kindled from the main blaze, a ritual for fortune and fertility. The church disapproves in theory, but in practice, no one interferes so long as attendance at Mass and tithes continue. Edward finds you again for the evening rounds. The steps draw you close, then pull you apart, again and again, hands brushing for a moment, then letting go. The rhythm of the dance mirrors courtship itself. Approach, retreat, connection, space. It is a choreography older than memory, older than the fire itself. Later, when the moon hangs high and the bonfire is reduced to a pulsing glow of embers, your family begins to gather their things. The youngest children are already asleep, sprawled across the blanket in the deep, dreamless exhaustion of children who've run and danced all day. Edward walks with your family part of the way home, a gesture that is both polite and meaningful. At the crossroads, where your path turns toward the village and his returns to town, he speaks to your father. You're not meant to hear, but you catch words in passing. Would like permission to visit, and your father's slow, thoughtful reply, welcome at Sunday dinner. Another step forward. Another boundary quietly crossed. Your heart swells, not just with happiness, but a nervous, buzzing anticipation of what might come next. The walk home is hushed. Everyone is weary, but in different ways, satisfied, reflective. Your father carries little John, his head resting on his shoulder. Thomas walks tall, proudly reliving the archery prize he won. Matilda, her flower crown now wilted, holds tightly to your mother's hand. And you? You walk with the weight of a brooch in your pocket, and Edward's quiet joy at receiving your gift glowing in your memory like a second fire. Back at the cottage, the night routine is shortened by weariness. The fire is stirred just enough to keep it smoldering through the night. Faces are washed with cool water, bedding adjusted, limbs stretched into their usual resting places. But though your body aches to lie still, your thoughts resist. Your mind continues turning over the day's events like a spindle pulling thread, drawing possibility from memory. This is how change unfolds in your world, not in sweeping, sudden turns, but in small, deliberate gestures. A gift offered, a place set at the family table, a craft mastered, a household, someday, built piece by piece. You imagine what might come next: Sunday dinner, meetings at church, quiet conversations after market. Maybe, if all proceeds without disruption, a betrothal by next midsummer. A year to prepare, to gather linens, to weave and save, to build something solid before marriage. Simple by modern eyes, but in your world, deeply meaningful. Outside, the midsummer night is unusually still. Even the forest seems hushed. The usual nighttime chorus paused in reverence for this briefest dark. Through the small window above your head, stars scatter across the sky in ancient patterns, unmoved by human joys and worries alike. You feel the gentle tug of sleep finally overtaking you. The straw beneath you welcomes your weight, forming again to your shape like it always does. You find the hollow you know so well and settle into it, your breathing beginning to slow. Each breath comes longer, deeper than the one before. The tension in your body unwinds from your toes upward, your limbs growing heavy with the pleasant ache of a full day well-lived. That's it. Just like that. Letting go of the effort, the energy, the excitement. Letting the weight of it melt away. Your thoughts drift in and out of clarity. Images blur and shimmer, the bonfires glow, Edward's smile, the music still echoing in your ears. The brooch you tucked into your pouch. The belt now worn at the forge. Symbols of something not yet spoken but unmistakably begun. And as you drift off, you feel it, the sense that you are part of something much larger. You are one young woman among generations who have walked this same path, danced these same dances, whispered with hopeful hearts beneath summer moons. You are one of many who have woven meaning from modest threads and built futures one careful decision at a time. In the soft darkness of your cottage, surrounded by the slow, even breathing of your sleeping family, your own breath deepens. The day settles around you like a warm, familiar blanket, wrapping your tired limbs in quiet. Sleep comes at last, a slow surrender. Your thoughts scatter like sparks rising from the dying bonfire, lifting into the night before dissolving into stillness. And as you rest, something profound lingers, that even in a world of labor, of limits and rules, there is space for joy, for beauty, for love carefully chosen and nurtured. You sleep now, deeply and fully. The structure creaks once in the night wind, and all hoots in the trees. But inside, all is calm. Agnes sleeps. And you, the listener, across time, across distance, feel her story settle into your bones. You breathe in. You breathe out. The rhythm is the same. The need for connection, for rest, for meaning, it binds us. Your eyes are closed now. Your body is still. Breath steady. Muscles loose and warm. That's right, just like that. Let go. Let it all go. Let the darkness carry you. And when morning comes, you will rise again to another day in your own time. Another day to live, to work, to wonder. Another day to dream.